Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are the mighty Guru Yogurt. Oh yes we are. Another beautiful spring day in Cumbria. It's actually pleasantly warm today. It's a motorcycle coming. I was saying, it's actually pleasantly warm today. The wind that we've been having up here for the last 2 or 3 days is beginning to die down, which is nice. I'm actually away for the weekend. I've got a whole weekend of work. I'm looking after the hotel that I'm currently working at. And the Murgatroyd isn't around a lot anyway. She's going down to Manchester tomorrow to go and see her eldest son. And so I'm staying at the hotel all weekend. I will be getting out to ride, so tomorrow's film will be based around Windermere and the area to the east of it, a place I haven't yet had the chance to explore too much, apart from having done the Kirkstone Pass. So, couple of developments. One, Osmo Action 5 Pro turns up at the house today. I should get my hands on that at some point tomorrow. Looking forward to learning how to use that. Our 6-7 day motorcycle camping holiday is coming up on Tuesday. Tuesday we will be leaving Cumbria and heading for the Isle of Arran on the west coast of Scotland. Really looking forward to that as well. And really interesting development, the Benji Mouse, my eldest son, has released his first video on his YouTube channel. Fantastic. Last time I looked, he'd got 19 views. He's doing all right. I'll put a link down below and you can go and check out his stuff. He's doing all right actually for his first offering. It's really not that bad. He does spend a little bit too much time disrespecting me, but hey, that's the kind of relationship we have. I will be responding to his scurrilous and unfounded comments about my character later in this film. In the meantime, you will all know by now, Mr. Suzuki is back on the road. One problem I discovered over the last 2 films, and I'm sure you will have noticed, is that the point of view from the chest harness that I had been using on the Magnificent Beast, the Yamaha XVS 650, simply does not work on this motorcycle. And so I decided I would order some of these strap-on chin mounts for both mine and the Murgatroyd's helmets. I've attached it to the helmet. It seems to be working the way that it should be. And here, and I love it when you try to solve one problem and end up solving 2, I'd been struggling with where to put my microphone inside the helmet, and you might remember I was using Gorilla Tape to stick it to the inside of the helmet. Well, having put this thing on, there's a little bit of tape here that I can clip the DJI Mic 2 onto. Of course, that's all going to change from tomorrow because along with the Osmo Action 5 Pro, we've ordered 2 DJI Mic Minis. So might have to think again. But I do believe they have little clips on as well, so it should be fine. I'm going to spend a couple of moments now adjusting the point of view, and then we'll get on the road. See you in a bit. Alrighty. I've just checked the point of view on the phone app. It looks as though it's okay. Only time will tell. Time to go to work. But I've got plenty of time, so that's all okay. The reason that I ultimately rejected the chin mount setup was that I felt that the chest harness gave me a more immersive point of view, and I stand by that. However, on Mr. Suzuki here, it simply does not work. And one of the objections that I had to the chin mount in the first instance was that every time you turn your head, you give yourself a little editing job. Well, maybe that judgment was a little premature. Maybe I can make this work. I don't know. We'll find out. As I said, it's another fabulous, beautiful day in Cumbria. It's about 17 or 18 degrees at the moment, and it's not even 12 o'clock. It really is a lovely day. And the weather, according to the forecast, is going to be like this for the best part of the week, which means that certainly the first half of our holiday on the Isle of Arran is going to be toasty warm t-shirt weather. Fantastic. There are so many exciting things about this upcoming trip to Arran. The first one being, it will be fascinating to see how the Murgatroyd copes with riding such long distances. On the first day of our holiday on Tuesday, we're going to be covering about 110 miles to get to the first campsite. Now, of course, with the Murgatroyd only having a CBT and riding a 125, we quite simply can't go on motorways. Well, that's no bad thing. But I do think that whilst Google Maps is suggesting that our trip to Oak Hill campsite, which is our first stop on the Tuesday evening, is going to take just over 2 hours, I think realistically it's probably going to be more like 3, maybe even 4. But we'll see how we go. We are going to be booking the ferry tickets for the Wednesday. There is a sailing around about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's the one we're going to be on. That will place us on the Isle of Arran in Brodick, which is the biggest town, I think, on the Isle of Arran. And then we're going to have about a 25-30 minute ride to the campsite that we're probably going to use as base camp for the entire duration of us being on the Isle of Arran. There aren't that many roads on the island, and it is possible to circumnavigate the entire island in, I think, about a 50-mile ride. So that's what we're going to be planning on doing for the Thursday. After that, well, we'll see what we fancy doing. It's going to give us the opportunity to, first of all, exercise some kind of control over the new camera gear that's coming, and making sure that the microphones between the helmets and the camera are working correctly. That's going to be a steep learning curve. We'll have to play around with all of the settings, see what works best. I'm taking the laptop, so we will be editing as we go. And whilst you won't be able to follow our holiday in real time as such, there won't be too much of a lag. Very excited about the holiday coming up then. Now then, on to my errant son, that arrant knave, Benji Mouse, who, as I mentioned just last night, put up his first proper YouTube moto vlog. The reason he did this, he claims, is because I lent him a GoPro and the media mod and an external microphone and told him to go out and record something. Well, there's a certain amount of truth in that, but I do think that in the last analysis it wasn't that one-sided, and he wanted to, and so it was delightful last evening to sit down and watch my eldest son on his, and he tells me off in the video, you'll see when you watch it, he tells me off for calling his new motorcycle a Triumph T120. No, apparently it's not. It's a Triumph Speed Twin 1200. It's very similar to a T120, just with a bit less tech on it. He loves that bike, it seems, but as he points out in his film himself, he's loved a lot of motorcycles. He kind of picks them up, rides them, sells them on. How long will he keep this new one? I do not know. He did have the last one, the Triumph 765, for, he says, 9 months, and that was a long time for Benjamin to be owning a motorcycle. Me and Mr. Suzuki here, we've been together 3 years now, almost to the day. The magnificent beast, the Yamaha XVS 650, I've had for almost 2 years now, no plans for letting him go. But as Benjamin points out in his film, motorcycling for him has always been a hobby, albeit an expensive one. He makes a nice little joke about, don't talk to me about the money I've lost on this, 42 motorcycles in 20 years. It makes me want to jump off a building. Well, tell you what, Benji Mouse, don't be jumping off any buildings. That would be sad. It would be wonderful then if all of the small channels, you know who you are, we all talk to each other all the time, were to have a look at Benjamin's first offering, maybe give him some tips. But I'd like to think that we will be doing a lot more riding together and consequently filming together over the summer period. It really is a lovely thing to be riding with Ben. You know, I think back to when he was sort of 18, 19 and he got his first motorcycle, and I would ride behind him and just like grill him on his mistakes. He doesn't like me criticising his riding now, so I tend not to. And he is actually a very safe rider. It's just that he rides with continual frog legs. You'll see what I mean when the Birmingham footage goes up. And that's another thing, in his first video, Benjamin suggests that I don't want to put up the footage from Birmingham. He's completely wrong. I am working on it. The problem is, and you might remember this if you follow my films, that when I went to Birmingham last week I had problems with equipment and consequently have to script and then speak a voiceover to that footage. I'm about halfway through and it will be going up this weekend. Benjamin suggests that I don't want to put it up because most of my films take place in beautiful places like this. This incidentally is the road from Coniston to Hawkshead. And absolutely fabulous stretch of road that is now my new commute. I was considering this morning, by way of celebrating the reincarnation of Mr. Suzuki here, a commute to work over the Hardknot and Wrynose passes. But as I mentioned just now, the wind has been really quite severe here for the last few days, and I just decided against it. Thankfully the wind, it's now going away. It's nothing like what it was, and it looks set to go away completely over the next few days. Fantastic. So there we are, Benjamin launches his YouTube career. I do not think that he will ever take it as seriously as I do, but I do look forward to at least a couple of collaborations before the end of the, for him, riding season. He states very clearly in his first film, he doesn't ride in bad weather. He doesn't ride in the rain unless he's caught out in the rain. And that's fair enough. For me, every day of the year, if I can. Motorcycling to me is not a hobby, it is an integral part of the fabric of who I am. But enough about that. We're heading now up to the top of Hawkshead Hill, which is where today's film will end. And so I'd like to thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. I fucking love this motorcycle.